that big commotion behind me is the new Nike launch.
Picture this. You're standing inside Nike Fort in Bonifacio Global City on July 21, 2025. You've been waiting in line for hours, your phone's stopwatch running as the countdown to a single white t-shirt release ticks away. It isn't just any shirt. Embroidered on the chest is a tiny white Sampaguita flower, a tribute to a 20-year-old Filipina ranked number 56 in the world. The doors finally
3, 2, 1, go!
Some fans say the online stock disappeared in less than a minute. Nike Philippines even described it with two unforgettable words: 60 seconds. Inside the Nike Fort store, eyewitnesses say the entire collection sold out in roughly 10 minutes. Whether it was 1 minute or 10, the result was the same: it was over almost instantly. That was the moment Nike realized, in real time, that they had dramatically underestimated.
That was actually a surprise for me. The message behind it was great. And I was wearing my little flower. Oh my God.
Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed, because the Sampaguita story is far from over. The next chapter unfolds on the grass of SW19. To understand how a simple white t-shirt sparked a buying frenzy, we need to rewind just 1 week. Alex Eala had just completed the biggest grass court run of her career in Berlin, defeating world number 2 Elena Rybakina and world number 4 Jasmine Paolini in the same tournament. Only days later, Wimbledon officially seeded her at number 29, the first Filipina in history to earn a Grand Slam seed. She achieved every one of those milestones wearing Nike. And the one Nike item every Filipino wanted to own in celebration was the one they couldn't get. Now rewind even further. In July 2025, Nike Philippines partnered with Manila-based artist Georgina Camus to create a limited capsule collection called Nike by You, in full bloom. At the heart of the collection was the Sampa Moment women's t-shirt, inspired by a one-of-one Sampaguita hair tie handcrafted for Alex Eala before her Wimbledon 2025 center court debut against defending champion Barbora Krejcikova. Nike made one thing clear: the original hair tie would never be sold. Only a single piece exists. Eala wore that handmade flower onto the most famous court in tennis, carrying a symbol of the Philippines with her onto center court. The t-shirt was created so fans could own a small piece of that unforgettable moment. Instead, the release became one of the hardest Nike drops the country had ever seen. Nike Philippines launched the collection through just one physical location, Nike Fort in Bonifacio Global City. Online, it was available through only one retailer, Park Access. That meant a nation of more than 115 million people, along with millions of Filipinos living and working overseas, were all competing for the same tiny supply. This isn't a story about a company trying to exclude fans. It's a story about a company completely misjudging demand. The design itself deserved the attention it received. Rather than bringing in a global creative team, Nike entrusted the project to Georgina Camus, who built the t-shirt, tote bag, and cap around the Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. A Filipina artist transformed the most personal part of a Filipina athlete's pre-match ritual into something fans could wear with pride. The excitement was obvious long before launch day. Then came the numbers. 1 physical store. 1 online retailer. 1 limited release for a fan base spread across the Philippines and around the world. The outcome was inevitable. On July 21, 2025, the online release disappeared in what Nike Philippines itself described as 60 seconds. At Nike Fort BGC, eyewitnesses reported the entire collection selling out in roughly 10 minutes. Whether it took 1 minute or 10, the message was impossible to miss. Nike hadn't just launched a limited edition shirt. It had underestimated the power of the Alex Eala phenomenon. Every subsequent restock on Park Access Philippines sold out just as quickly. By the very next morning, Lazada Philippines had already created a dedicated search category for the Nike Alex Eala Sampaguita shirt, filled with reseller listings priced at 2 or 3 times the original retail value. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't a signature sneaker from Michael Jordan. It wasn't a limited Travis Scott collaboration. It was a national pride t-shirt honoring a tennis player who, at the time, was ranked outside the world's top 50. Yet it created the kind of resale market usually reserved for the biggest names in sports. Compare that with tennis history. Coco Gauff helped move New Balance merchandise. Naomi Osaka became one of Nike's biggest global ambassadors. Serena Williams transformed tennis fashion itself. But those athletes had already reached Grand Slam finals, or won them, before their signature collections reached peak demand. Alex Eala was ranked number 56 in the world, without a Grand Slam final to her name, and her shirt disappeared faster than many of those collections ever did. That tells us something important. For years, Filipino fans insisted Alex Eala wasn't simply a talented young player. They believed she was a global commercial phenomenon waiting to happen. Many people dismissed that as hometown optimism. It wasn't. The sales proved it. Nike's own checkout data confirmed what Filipino fans had been saying all along. And the momentum didn't stop there. Every new milestone fueled another wave of demand. When Vogue Philippines placed Eala on its August 2025 cover, interest surged again. When Front Office Sports highlighted the excitement surrounding her 2026 Indian Wells appearance, attention climbed even higher. Then came Berlin. Victories over Elena Rybakina and Elena Svitolina. A semifinal run at a WTA 500 event. Another explosion of interest. Nearly a full year after the original launch, Filipino fans were still filling social media with requests for a restock, tagging Nike Philippines, and asking for one thing: a global release. It still hadn't happened. There is one more detail that makes this story even more interesting. People Asia reported that Alex Eala's Nike endorsement is worth around $2 million per year. Nike has never publicly confirmed that figure, but even if the estimate is only close, it suggests something important. The limited release wasn't necessarily about budget. It was about forecasting demand. And that's where Georgina Camus enters the story. She wasn't a freelance designer pulled from a random portfolio. She was the Manila-based artist personally selected by Nike Philippines to transform Alex Eala's one-of-one Sampaguita hair tie into a wearable collection for an entire nation. Today, her work has appeared across major tennis and fashion publications, including Vogue Philippines, Sports Illustrated's Serve and Tennis.com. When Camus introduced the collection on Instagram in July 2025, she described it with these words: "This custom tee is a symbol of discipline, courage, and full-circle growth, designed to inspire the next generation to bloom in their own time." Read that again. It was designed to inspire the next generation. Yet much of that next generation never had the opportunity to own it. Instead of hanging in young Filipinos' closets, many of the shirts ended up on resale marketplaces at 2 or 3 times the original price. The designer succeeded. The cultural message resonated. The distribution simply couldn't keep up. And that is where this stops being only a Philippine story. It becomes a global sports business story. Every apparel executive watching this launch received free market research. Southeast Asian tennis is no longer an emerging market. It is an active, passionate, and commercially powerful audience capable of overwhelming supply within minutes. Now look at what comes next. Wimbledon 2026 is only days away. Alex Eala arrives as the number 29 seed, the first Filipina in history to be seeded at a Grand Slam. She will walk onto the biggest stage in tennis wearing Nike in front of a worldwide television audience. After Wimbledon comes the North American hardcourt season. Montreal. Cincinnati. The US Open in New York, home to one of the world's largest Filipino-American communities. That's 3 major opportunities for Nike. 3 chances to repeat the same mistake, or finally match supply with demand. Here's a reasonable prediction. If Nike launches a global restock, or expands the Sampaguita collection, before Wimbledon begins, demand will likely be overwhelming. Not because fans are irrational. Because for an entire year, scarcity has conditioned buyers to act immediately. Of course, no story is complete without acknowledging the setbacks. After her impressive wins over Rybakina and Svitolina in Berlin, Eala's tournament ended in the semifinals. Some analysts even suggested she should take time to recover before Wimbledon. But Alex Eala has always viewed defeat differently. As she told Vogue Philippines, "Tennis is such a beautiful sport because it keeps you grounded. You lose, and you learn because you lose almost every week." She lost in Berlin. Days later, Wimbledon confirmed her as the number 29 seed. History had already been made. So picture the entire journey one more time. A 20-year-old Filipina walks onto center court, wearing a handmade Sampaguita flower that exists nowhere else in the world. A Manila artist transforms that symbol into a limited edition t-shirt. Filipino fans empty a Nike store in roughly 10 minutes. Nike's own social media says the online release lasts just 60 seconds. Resellers appear almost immediately. And nearly a year later, with Alex Eala now entering Wimbledon as a seeded player, the collection remains almost impossible to buy. At that point, Alex Eala is no longer just one of the biggest stories in Philippine sports. She has become a market, a movement, and perhaps the clearest example yet that one symbolic flower can generate more excitement than many established stars manage over an entire season. Now we want to hear from you. If Nike releases the Sampaguita collection worldwide before Wimbledon 2026, how quickly do you think it sells out? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and how fast you'd be placing your order. If you've been following Alex Eala from the beginning, if you refreshed websites at midnight in Manila, if you're one of the fans in Dubai, Toronto, Los Angeles, Sydney, London, or anywhere else hoping to own a piece of this story, this channel is for you. Because the Alex Eala story is still being written. And the next chapter begins on the grass of SW19.